So let's talk about, let's fast forward. So I'm assuming at this point you guys are young enough, none of you have debt. Okay, and that's the hope. But let's imagine fast forward a few years and you've made some poor financial decisions and now you have debt. How do we get rid of it? First of all, we have to have the mindset that we're going to eliminate this at all costs. Like, we got to get rid of it. We're done with this. We're not going to recreate it. We're not going to have it keep coming back. We need to tackle it and make it your priority. And the first step in that is taking responsibility for the fact that you made some poor choices that got you to the point where you have this debt. Don't look for a bailout from me or your mom or your grandparents or the government or anything else to say like, oh, we're just going to take care of that debt for you. Own it. Own your mistakes. And the sooner you do that and the sooner you start tackling that, instead of saying somebody else will take care of this for me at some point, you kind of create a habit of not recreating it, because even if somebody bails you out, you're just going to recreate it again if you don't get underneath that, what's creating it in the first place. And it also gives you your first taste of freedom, and it opens up more doors that we've talked about to saving and investing, because it's really hard to go off and save and invest when over here you're spending it and losing a bunch of money on the debt that you have to keep paying down. So I will say this too, I've seen people, I've even helped a few people kind of work towards getting rid of debt that they've accumulated over years. And as soon as they get close to paying it all off, or maybe they even paid it all off, they fall right back into that same cycle, because they start to feel free. There's a wonderful feeling when you don't have any debt. It feels great, right? But as soon as you do, it's like, oh, well, this is just one little thing. And those one little things become one little things every few weeks until eventually you've got way too much again. So if you can't learn to break that cycle, you'll never get to the next steps in creating wealth. And you're basically going to be doomed to financial mediocrity for your life. You're doomed. So anyway, part of doing that is get rid of your regular payments and debt. So the kind of payments that you make on your car, your credit card, even your home, these are things that are all going to drag you down. They're going to stop you from being able to invest into bigger things. So you want to get rid of them as soon as possible. Now, obviously, the home's going to be there for a while. You can't just usually walk in with a bunch of money and be like, here's my house payment, I'm done. You have to, do it over a few years. But you do want to pay it down as quickly as you can. You don't want to be paying the very minimum that you're allowed to pay, because that just benefits whoever lent you the money. Because the longer it takes you to pay that off, the more that it's going to cost you. So let's talk specifically about something I've mentioned to you guys since you were practically babies, which is credit cards. You guys have heard me talk about it before, I'm sure. The number one rule for credit cards is if you're going to buy something with that credit card, only ever buy something that you can pay off immediately. Meaning, by the end of the month, when the statement for that credit card comes and it says you spent this amount of money this month using your credit card, that you have enough in your checking account to pay for all those things you purchased. If you don't, then you're doing it wrong. All right? The interest, and do you know what interest is? Any idea what that is? Okay, so interest is when a credit card, you kind of do? Okay, so it's the amount of money that you're charged to borrow money. And interest rates can range from really small, like your student loan ones might only be 2 or 3%, but credit cards can be like upwards of close to 20%. It's crazy. And that's like every month they're going to charge you a bunch more interest. And if you have a bunch of debt, sometimes all you're doing is paying interest. You're not even paying down the thing you originally bought. People can sometimes end up paying 2, 3, 4 times the price of the item they actually purchased in just the interest. Crazy, right? You buy something for $20 and actually costs you 80. That seems nuts. It seems silly. That's what interest does to you. So these things can obviously be terrible because they can get you in the cycle of just constantly, trying to live with that. They can be helpful. I mean, credit cards aren't completely evil if you're wise with them, if you do make the payments and they're just used for building your credit. But they're terrible I'd say, for most people because they don't use them properly. And the reason they don't use them properly is because it's really easy. It's almost like free money sitting there. It feels like free money. It's definitely not. And it encourages kind of this unfettered, unrestricted spending, like just go spend, but with really high interest rates. And so people get trapped by them, and at a very young age. It's actually pretty common for when a college student first goes on campus, they have a whole bunch of booths of people trying to get you to sign up with their latest credit cards. Right out of the gate, right out of high school. Here's your the albatross we're going to hang around your neck. Here's this anchor we're going to weigh you down with. And they don't know how to use them, and they blow a bunch of money on them. So on average, young people ages 8 to 24 spend about 30% of their monthly income on debt, on their spending their debt to be paying that down. Most of them owe somewhere in the range of around $9,500, which is crazy. So yes, credit cards can help you build your credit, but don't lie to yourself that splurging on some item that you can't afford is somehow helping you. It's not. All right. Just remember that it costs money to borrow money, and the longer you borrow that money, the more that money is going to cost you.